This video we will be learning how to install the Fiberon CitySide Aluminum railing system. So before we get started, I'm going to run you down give you a rundown of the different components you'll need when you're ordering the rail and what you're working with. So there's a multitude of different types of posts. The two that we'll be using for this video will be the aluminum end post, and it's the end post because they have the brackets pre-welded, which is nice, and they just have the brackets on one side. The other one will be the aluminum line post, which has brackets on both sides. So there's also the corner post, and there's also a stair post. Each one's pre-engineered for their specific task. So the corner post would have one welded there, one welded on the 45, etc. So we already have a little bit of a section installed now, so we're going to go into that. And then the other component you'll need when ordering is the actual railing section. So what's cool about these is they also double as the angle, so if you need to do stairs, you don't need to have the specific stair model. This will work. We're going to be using the 6-foot section. They also have an 8-foot section. So here we have one of the open boxed posts, and this is how it comes out of the box. You're going to get a set of directions. You're going to get attached to it is the post skirt, which is 2-piece plastic clipped together, and as you can see, the welded on brackets already there, and then just a little bit of protection to keep the product nice during shipping. So now we're ready to mount the post to the deck surface. I've already gone ahead and done my measurement, know where it's at. Underneath I have some, the correct amount of blocking. Usually 4 inches is good. A pressure treated 4x4 post mounted sideways works great. So I have it centered on that. And what you're going to need for mounting is you need some sort of significant lag bolt, lag screw. So Fastmaster makes good ones. I'm using just these galvanized ones. Are 22 cents a piece, pretty good deal. But before you put those in, you want to pre-drill. You don't necessarily need a pre-drill for the wood. In fact, I actually wouldn't go into the wood too much, but you need to pre-drill through the decking just because it will gum up pretty thick stuff. So use a pretty decent pre-drill bit and get in there. So a nice trick to keep the post square is to use your speed square, like my limited edition Fiberon speed square. You can use your measurement and then you can keep it square there, so as you're mounting it, you're not going to get it all cockamamie and looking bad. Okay, so now I have my lag bolts in, but at the moment I haven't really gotten them down really tight using the impact. I have the post decently plumb where I want it, but you don't want to get it perfectly plumb at this point because you're gonna have to undo everything to actually get the rail sections in. So you wanted to get it pretty close because now is the time to measure your top and bottom rail. So you just measure from this point to the point of the established one. And so when you do this, one can be completely fastened down. So that one's already installed, so I'm not gonna undo that one. But this one's the guy that I'm gonna have to back these out a couple inches at least, because the whole post will angle to fit in the rail sections. But you want it pretty close to get an accurate measurement. Luckily for this system though, is you don't need to have it be spot on, because the rail will actually be slipping inside of this bracket, and I like to call that the skill variance gap, because it'll hide a lot of your work. So you can be off by 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch on each side, and you're not going to notice because it's hidden behind here. And something else to note is you got some pretty big welds there, which you may not think look attractive, but luckily it's hidden inside, so it doesn't matter. But you want those to be pretty big and strong to hold onto the railing. But you can't measure exactly from the post, because those will bump your, that takes up a lot of space. So you're gonna have to give it about 1/4 inch from the post on each side. So I got my measurement for my rail length, so I'm ready to dive into the rail kit. So I'll pop it open, I'll show you guys what comes in a kit. So starting off, we get another set of directions, same one that comes in each post box. We have a bundle of balusters, you'll have a second bundle of balusters. Again, this is enough to cover the 6 feet, but we're a little bit shorter than that, so we're gonna have some left over. In the middle of that, you're gonna find your foot block, crush block, and saran wrapped around it is you're gonna have T25 drill bit and the self-tapping head painted T25 stainless steel screws for securing the railing and the foot block. You also get your bottom rail and your top rail. So looking at the bottom rail, the top rail, you'll notice something that's a little bit different than the composite system. You already have your pre-done square holes to put your balusters in. They plug right in, nice and easy. But on the bottom of the top rail, it's a channel. And so there's no real way to align the balusters from what appears. I'll show you later how it's actually done. But this saves you a step now for when you're cutting. So I have my measurement of 63 inches I need to have for both of those. So it's very important when you cut your bottom rail, because it has the pre-done holes, that you are taking out an equal amount from each side. If I were to take out, let's say, 15 inches from one side, you might have your cut be here, or like here, for example. Then you're gonna have a baluster there, and then you're gonna have like a 4-inch gap on the other side, and it's gonna look bad. So the trick is you take your total measurement, you take that number, and subtract that from the total length of the standard stock rail, and then the remainder you divide by 2 and take that cut from each side, so that way you have equal spacing and equal even spacing from each side for the balusters. So you have your top rail and then your bottom rail. Inside of the bottom rail, they'll be saran wrapped in, but you'll have these plastic spacers, and this is how you'll gap the balusters in your top rail. So be careful that you take these out before you do any cutting, or else you might saw through your spacers. Okay, so we have our bottom and top rail cut. So now we are going to install those. So like I said, is you didn't want those all the way backed out. And the reason why is you need to be able to tip the post back to allow your railing sections to get in place here. So let me do the bottom one, you know, real simple. Oh, a bit too much. And then the top one, like I said, is you just put it into the one that's already in hard. Oh no. And you tilt it back and slide it on, just like that. And that is that step. So before we get the balusters in, we need to put in the foot block, crush block, whatever the term is. And it's pretty simple. You just want to find the approximate center of the rail. So I know it's this guy here. The design of it allows us to go directly into the baluster, which is nice. And pretty simple, you just tuck it underneath. You get these two guys in between the ridges and the bottom rail, and you just kind of flex it up and it snaps in place. And right now it's loose, but that's okay, because what you'll do is, there's already a hole on that side. You can just take one of the self-tapping screws and screw into that bad boy and lock it in place. If you do this, try to do this after the balusters, you're gonna have a hard time, because the balusters will be pushing down. You don't get the flex you need to get that up into place. Next is we are going to fasten the top and bottom rail to the brackets. So on the top rail, you can see underneath there are 2 pre-drilled holes. You just take the self-tapping screws and put them right in. And for the bottom rail, you just put it in on the side, again self-tapping, that easy. Okay, so we just got these screws installed on the rails to hold them in place, and then I got the lag bolts set, so my post is all plumb now, so I'm ready to install the balusters. So on the bottom rail section, you have the holes already done, but at the top, there's a step we need to do to space your balusters correctly, and that's using these plastic channel clips. So they got the little teeth on there. Those will go up, and you just kind of insert like so, and it clips into place, and you slide the first one in, and you get your first baluster, and you put it in the hole, line it up to the channel underneath, and angle it in like that. And then you get the next channel clip, and you'd put it in, clip it in, place it over, and put the next baluster in. And you do that as so for the whole run. So bonus pro tip, the spacers you use for the balusters, they're already set to the standard width you need between the balusters. But if you are ending up where a baluster is tighter to the end post than the predetermined distance, you need to cut this down to fit in there to keep it from wobbling. So it's kind of dangerous to cut these plastic things, especially on a chop saw. Your fingers are really close to the blade. So a little pro tip I found is if you're able to find these dunnage blocks, the channel they cut in for the groove fits this almost perfectly where it sits in nice and snug, and it allows you to, let me find something to hold this guy up here. Yeah, so it allows you to safely cut this without losing a finger. Let me get it to the right spot. Perfect. Exactly the distance I need. So the last component to finish the rail, once I get all the balusters in and the spacers clicked in, is to install the post skirts. So the post skirts are 2-piece plastic. They have little female-male adapters, and you just put one on this side, put one on this side, and you just clip them together. And that's it. So now we have this run of our railing done, and I think it